really gotta open your heart chakra, and you really gotta breathe them in. Thank you, darling. Don't give me too much love. I don't want to get love bombed, you know. Thank you so much. Just drinking you in. Dearish, man, I love your fucking moves, dude. I was tripping out there, man. I was out in the 8th auric level. Amazing. How you doing? Yeah. Wasn't that fucking incredible? Yeah. It's like free drugs. These people have got some good shit going on. So, yeah, Spiritually Incorrect was the name of this part of the evening. Because as many of you know, I've been an esteemed yoga teacher for many years. And there's a part of me that takes this stuff very, very seriously. Okay? Because how else do you get anywhere? How else do you do any development? But there's another part of me that just literally has to talk back and talk at all this spiritual seriousness. So that's very much where this is coming from. Anybody relate to that? Yeah. Give me a shout out if you're not a yoga teacher. Yeah. Fucking hell, I thought everybody was a yoga teacher on the planet. I thought they're coming out their mum's wombs. Look, mum, I got my teacher training. I do vinyasa with a side of yin. Isn't that what they do? Yeah, I think so. Anyway, I wasn't planning to say any of that, but it's just come out, and that's how it's going to be, I feel, right? So, yeah, my name is Elon. Anybody know where that's from?
Jew.
How dare you! What gave it away? Was it my thick mane of hair and my tiny nose? Exactly. It is my Hebrew name, Elon. As the Israeli would say to me, they say Elon. It is a good name. It's a tov name. It means tree. It's very strong. Occasionally I meet some hippies and they go, "Oh wow, man, that's like a really cool name. Is that like from another galaxy? Is that your alien name?" I mean, I'd like to think maybe that it is, but it is my Hebrew name. But the reason I started using it around the age of 20 is that I literally could not go on any longer being called by my first name, my English name. I would say my Christian name, but there is nothing Christian about me. I'm as they come. Too much info? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, this is, potentially the most revealing thing I'm going to say all night. My first name on my birth certificate. Ooh, Kate is interested here. What's he going to do? Is he going to show us that? My first name. Come on, kids, I'm going to tell you. My first name is Neil.
No.
I know! It's fucking shocking, isn't it? It's my good new friend. She won't be friends with me anymore. Because it's weird. In America, Neil is a great name, man. You got Neil Armstrong, Neil Diamond, Neil Young, any others? Neil Sedaka. They all become singers? I'm not sure. But over here, the only role model I had for Neil, those who are old enough to remember this, was... Oh, well... You've burned my room down again. And weirdly, I was a long, greasy head, quite heavily bullied hippie growing up.
Oh, you were Neil? You really
Yeah, I was Neil, but the way that name, the energy, the reason I like Elon is that Elon has a kind of, Elon, just say it back to me. Elon! Can you feel that in your chakras, baby? Whereas Neil, just say Neil. Neil. It's like you're giving up. And most of my teenage years like, hi, hello, hi, I'm Neil, hi. Oh, hi, sorry, I'm Neil. Yeah. Neil, yeah, Neil. And so that was like how I felt about it, but who's the person that calls our names the most? Our mothers. And my mum was like, Neil! 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 By the time I'm like 12 or 14, I'm like, okay, what? Yeah. I thought it was getting off. Fucking, maybe it wasn't fun. I'm feeling sad. Yeah, my mum. I love my mum, but she was a bit strict. I'm not going to go any further there right now, because that's technically therapy. So that's the first interesting thing to tell you about myself. A little bit of bipolar going on there with the low status Neil and the more confident high energy Elon, like, hi, I'm Elon, I can do a lot of shit, man, know what I mean? But deep down, there's just this other guy's like... But luckily, I've got a third name! Because obviously, if he's a yoga teacher, right, you've got to get a name from a geezer in India, right? You know what I'm saying, like that? You have got to go, find you a guru, mate, and he's got to give you a name. Give us a shout out if you've got one of them names. Oh, yeah, that's the best response I've ever had on that. Excelente. And I'll never forget when he gave me that name. Let me see if I can channel his energies. I'm really trying, yeah. Where's he gone? Come in. The name I am going to give unto you will be Aman Divyam. Aman, it is meaning no mind, beyond the mind. Divyam, it is meaning divine. When you are attaining to the state of no mind, you will feel the divinity within you. I thought, it sounds interesting, but my main concern is then aren't people just going to call me Div? Anyway, yeah, so I got quite lost in that sort of spiritual world, having a few different names, and my ego would love, I kept trying to work. It's very confusing answering to different names and telling, the hardest question I've ever faced in life is, what is your name? And I tried to come up, there must be a complex reason why I'm so multifaceted and have to have all these different names. Maybe I'm channeling the Hindu Trimurti of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Like I have a different name for different aspects of my personality. No. It's just that I'm a multiple personality schizophrenic. I have all these different aspects and fragments. They're all wandering around, having their own life, having their own name, having their own job, having their own girlfriend. So, it's a lot to look after. But yeah, so the name, there's a lot in the name, wouldn't you say? And I was wondering recently, maybe it was on the loop, something like that, I don't know why. I was thinking, rather than these highfalutin spiritual names like Prem Yogi and King Raj and Sacred Aubergine or whatever your spiritual name is, wouldn't it be better, wouldn't it be more helpful to be given your shadow name? Wouldn't it be better to think about 2 or 3 things inside yourself that are slightly irritating or a little bit difficult and make that your name? Like in my case, maybe very, very blamey and a quite angry driver or something like that. Or constantly judgmental and horny all the time. I mean, if you're feeling a little bit introspective, maybe you'd like to go drop inside, connect to your inner aspects, Maybe find out a couple of things about your shadow and share them with the person next to you. You can really have a bonding experience. Would you like to try that? I dare you! Feel free. I'll just be over here. Everything. I say just comedy, mate. It's like a workshop, innit? You know what I'm saying? You getting in touch with any of those things? Any of those bits? Oh, it was very quiet. I feel there's a bit of resistance in the room, I feel there's a little bit of I'm not going there today, You're the comedian, you should do all the work. Don't make me come up with all my shit, Anyway, that's something you can send me by post, email. Anyway, it's a bit weird that I ended up on this spiritual malarkey because it was my karma and my destiny to be an accountant. Okay? And I remember at the age of 18, 19, before going to university, my father said, "My son, you're going to university, you're going to have a nice time, but I want you to think about your future. Look at your cousin Jeremy. He's the managing partner of BDO Stoy Hayward. He's on 98k a year, plus benefits." I should point out my dad doesn't talk in that way at all whatsoever, but the attitude is completely the same. Always thinking about, blessing, security, survival, making everything okay. And, I thought about what my dad had to say, and, it didn't really appeal to me, so I came up with a somewhat cunning plan. I got myself thrown out of the back seat of a convertible on the Brent Cross flyover at 45 miles an hour. Clever guy, huh? If you need any help sorting out or escaping your problems, come and talk to me. I can show you a way to get beyond what is trapping you on the material plane. I ended up breaking all 4 limbs. I was taken into hospital. They implanted metal inside me like Steve Austin, the Bionic Man. At first, I was in the Royal Free, in the A&E, in the casualty ward, people screaming, being operated on. It was horrible. But luckily, when you have Jewish parents whose main concern is survival and security, they spend every spare dollar on top quality health insurance. So I was moved a few days later to a very lovely, I'd call it a hospital, in St. John's Wood. 5 stars, your own room, a nice view over Lord's cricket grounds. It was very lovely. And I can remember these were very pivotal times in my life. I remember every morning my nurse Jenny, she'd come on in. She'd say, "Oh Neil, how are you doing today? I'm just going to give you a flannel wash. I hope it's not too cold." "Oh, how's that? Oh, you like that, do you? Okay, oh, lovely. What are you doing today?" I'm like, "Oh." I was thinking, wow, she's still not sorry about that. Didn't mean that to come out. A bit Freudian. So that was how my day began. Warm flannel, I might add. And then an hour later, she'd come back and give me what I consider the greatest breakfast on earth. Freshly brewed coffee and legal opium. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've done a lot of drugs and chemicals in my time, but there are very few things that have given me the combined buzz of caffeine and opiates. The caffeine gives you that sort of, that energetic lift, that I can do anything today. And the opium just gives you this feeling like, everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to be beautiful. I feel bliss inside myself. And while I was in that hospital, doing bugger all, I was carrying on my spiritual journey, you know what I mean? I was reading the books, I was reading my spiritual books, and they were saying the things that we all know. There is nowhere to go. Clearly. There is nothing to do. Well, maybe a flannel wash, but apart from that, just be here now. Where else can I be? I am here now. Go inside, connect into your inner center. Find the bliss source within you. Well, I'm telling you, when you have 2 nice opiates to start your day, it's very easy to find happiness. And I sat in that you like that? I sat in that hospital bed for 4 weeks, just being perhaps the happiest I'd ever been, because there truly was nowhere to go and nothing to do. And then a very weird thing happened. 1 year later, I'm minding my own business. I've finished my university degree because the legs was working now. I could go back, do a bit of running around, a bit of history. And I get this letter in the post. It's very full of legalese, and it says, "Dear Mr. Friedman, we are writing in conjunction to the aforementioned RTA, that's road traffic accident, for those of you who are not familiar, that you sustained on the 28th of May, 1988, and we enclose here a sum for damages and injuries sustained in that accident." A 5-figure sum. Back then, in 1988, it wasn't like 99.999. It was down in the low area. And my father immediately jumped in. I really think that you should, you're in South Africa now for some reason. I don't know why. I think he was I don't know, maybe he'd been on holiday. What do you think? Is it any good, JM? He said, "I'm a multiple personality person like you, my boy, but I might migrate or mutate back into Yiddish at any moment because I'm not in control of it." He said, "I want you to put that money into a high interest earning account and then get yourself a nice deposit on a flat. After you finish accountancy school, you'll have somewhere secure to live. Please God, you'll marry he's coming back in. Thank you, Father. Please God, you'll marry a nice girl, you'll raise a family, perhaps you won't be a doctor, but an accountant will do me just fine." And I thought about what my dad said to me. 10 days later, I found myself on Air India. A one-way ticket to Bombay, mate! The universe was paying me top dollar to follow this spiritual calling. Wow. You couldn't make this shit up. Okay, there was a bit of pain and suffering, a bit of injury sustained in the workplace, you know what I mean? The weirdest thing was that day, this is so true, I can't believe it, that day of that car accident, like say guess where I was going, but you would never guess. I was on my way to the fucking Mind, Body, Spirit Festival in Olympia. I said, no, mate. You don't just go one day. We are sending you longer. You are going longer. I think I'm still waiting to get back from that trip. And I got to India, because by now I was fully imbibing all the books and the teachers and the gurus and the stories of bliss and God intoxication and devotion. I was speaking to so-called holy men, or people a bit older than me that read more books, psychics, and they said, you've got to go to all these different tombs and ashrams, see these different gurus. I went first of all to the tomb of Meher Baba, who I was told was a realized saint. You could feel his energy in his samadhi by where he was buried. Had a nice time, had a couple of chais, didn't feel much. Was told to go to Amritsar, to the Golden Temple. This psychic said it was the holiest place on earth. What do I know? I went up there, it was a sunny day, I lay by the pool. Is it a lake? Anybody been there? And it was reflected with the golden light of the temple. By the way, it was very nice. I went to see Sai Baba down near Bangalore. Back in the day, before things had been said about him. Anybody been there? Miracle man. And his ashram was more like the serious, the real kind of ashram. Everybody wearing white, lots of people queuing up for darshans. Unbelievable quantities of liquefied dal that came in and went out in exactly the same constituency. Sleeping in a dorm with very devout people who had no sense of humor whatsoever. Bless them. I got, in that period, I was in my very sincere, I am looking for God. Gotta find God. There must be something. Anyway, 4 days is all I lasted with Sai Baba, and I got a bit fed up, met a few more hippies, as you do in India, got back on the trains, smoked a few more spliffs, went up to Rajasthan, where they give you some very nice opium, I have to add. It was a nice little reminder. And I made my way down to Pune, near Bombay, a place where I had booked myself into Mr. Iyengar's yoga school. But it was a 1-year wait before you could go and do anything. It was $100, book a place, wait it out, take it if you want. It wasn't that much to lose. So I thought, okay, what else is there to do? Anybody else know who else hangs out in that city? One and only Mr. Bhagwan Sri Hashish. Yeah? My kind of guy. Also known as Osho, Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh. Infamous the world over. The free love guru. The Rolls Royce guru. The man who you've all probably seen now in Wild Wild Country and seen the terrible shadow of that organization. Is that a no? Yeah, the awfulness of humanity, of human beings. It's all true, I believe. But equally, it's yin and yang. It's light and dark. In his words, I had felt this echo of truth and heartfeltness of making sense of spirituality. He said you can enjoy yourself. You can enjoy the pleasures of the senses. You can indulge in life, be like Zorba the Buddha. I thought, I like that, mate. I'm having some of that. When I got to his ashram, it weren't like none of the others, right? Woo! You walk up to the door, white marble floors. You look through the gate, you see gigantic black pyramids. There was a sushi bar, a cappuccino bar, a tennis court, a swimming pool. But the thing is, on your first day, you can only go for a 20-minute tour, right? Because if you want to come in proper light, you have to take a test. And it ain't your IQ or your algebra. The man was like, dude, if you want to come in, you've got to go and take an HIV test at the hospital across the road. We's doing a lot of shagging in here, man. And we want you big up, come and be part of the team. And, okay. Now, I hadn't been particularly sexually experienced by this stage, but still, back in those days, it took 48 hours to get your results back. Those were 48 of the most paranoid, dreadful minutes of my life when my mind concocted the worst, most disease-ridden states that were going to be happening inside of me. But luckily, I passed that test. And it meant more to me than my history degree, my driving license. Fuck yeah, man! I'm in the game! when you get the green light, you get your maroon robe, and you can start walking around the ashram. All you see, beautiful people like floating on air, all with their 19 chakras open, elevated, breathing, and they're all making eye contact with you, smiling. What is your name, Swami? So nice to meet you. Walk along. The currency of Pune was not, all right, how you doing? Nice to meet you. It was hug. And I'm not talking about the sort of wigwam English hug of bum back, pat pat. All right, fella? I'm talking about, maybe it's a little bit like what we just did in here. It is the full, this is my friend who was hugging. What's the best angle? It's a full, every chakra in synchronization, embrace, cheek to cheek, feet to feet, thigh to thigh, and you just breathe, and you just melt. And at first I'm thinking, wow, 15, 20 seconds. It's a little bit intimate, isn't it? And this, I have to be honest, usually as women I wanted to hug for longer than men, And I'm like, okay, stay. She didn't seem to mind. I'm hugging, she's breathing, she's going off into new chakric domains that I've never heard about. She's melting into me. Making this faint sound. People are walking past you like this is no big deal. And I'm going to tell you something, when you start melting like that for 20 minutes with someone, blood starts flowing to parts of your body. Okay? Things start rising up, going, hello? What do we have here? And I would think, oh dear, it's a bit embarrassing, I better. And now they just wouldn't push it, just keep hugging. And for some reason, I don't know, maybe it was night or time to go to bed, or it was dinner time, the hug would end. I fell in love 3 times a day. I didn't even know most of these people's names. So that was like my entree to Osho's world. And, Osho is probably the most spiritually incorrect guru that there is out there, in my opinion. In me, he's the correct one for me. But he is controversial. He is sensual. But man, did he rope me in. There was a lot of stuff I didn't like. I didn't like the cult stuff. I didn't like the pictures of him everywhere. I didn't like the sort of obedience, the church. All that stuff stunk. But the heart connection, the love in the room, baby, that was the real thing. Now, I don't have time today to tell you about my 18-month sojourn in Osho's ashram. For that, we need a little bit more time about my gap here in Pune. But maybe I'm just going to leave you with one little story just to give you another taste. I heard about swimming. Yeah? And for my first week, I asked the fellow, for something. I said, do you know where's the changing room? He says, oh, it's just over there. You just go through the black door over there. Just go to the change room. I walk in. There is one woman only. She's bending over. Bending over, taking her knickers off. Turns around to look at me. And I'm like, mix of total shock, embarrassment, and complete arousal. Because she didn't do what you'd expect or think. She just keeps looking at me. I'm sure I'm doing this the wrong angle. She keeps looking at me, takes her knickers off, stands up, and goes, hi. There was no men's or women's changing room. It was like the same thing, man. Woo! We spent a lot of time in there, me and my mates, co-showering. It was a new thing. Anyway, so it was a very powerful experience for a very sexually repressed, neurotic Jewish boy to find himself in this free love ashram. And I got to say, I thank that car crash. Because, pain on the one hand, bliss on the other. It was worth it, no? It was worth it. So I wish for all of you bliss on your spiritual journeys. Thank you for your ear. Thank you for listening.